Hi, everyone. I'm Maggie McGrath, senior editor at Forbes. On Friday night, the Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas tied to Fed Chair Jerome Powell's testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last year. On Sunday night, Powell issued a videoed statement saying that the investigation is not about his testimony, but is instead a pretext for political pressure surrounding the Fed's ability to independently set interest rates. Joining us now is Aaron Klein. He is a senior fellow in economic studies at the Brookings Institution and in a past life served as the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Economic Policy at the Department of Treasury. Aaron, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Maggie.
So let's start with where we are right now. We had the grand jury summons on Friday night, Chairman Powell issuing a rather unprecedented video statement on Sunday night, and now this week we've received some commentary from the president, at first denying knowledge of the investigation, and then later this week he called Powell as either incompetent or crooked. How would you explain where we are at this point in time?
So Trump has declared war on the Federal Reserve. He is trying to take over using pure politics, the ability to set our country's interest rates. And he's doing this through absolute trumped up charges, not just against Jay Powell now, but earlier against one of the other Federal Reserve governors, Lisa Cook. Powell is chair of the board of governors of the Federal Reserve. There's 7 governors, and this is the second one he's criminally prosecuting. And this is an absolute declaration of war whereby Trump is trying to take over interest rate setting.
Now, the statements from the administration suggest that this is not about interest rate setting, but instead about renovations to Fed headquarters and Powell's ability to oversee the costs relating to these renovations. What do you make of that allegation?
That's a joke. Nobody seriously believes that they be doing this if Chairman Powell was cutting interest rates. Trump himself has said that. He said he was going to go after. You earlier said Trump is now denying it. On Thursday, before those, he said in a press conference, we're going to be going after the Fed because they've kept rates too high too long. You're going to see something coming. And then he denied knowing what was coming. Then how did you know to preview it? I mean, that's just not a credible statement. Look, of those 7 reserve governors I mentioned, one of the 7 last year resigned in scandal due to unethical and likely illegal stock trading. That person hasn't been investigated at all, even though they probably broke the law. Why? Because they quit and gave Trump a seat. So this is pure politics on the fact of Trump, and at various points he admits so much.
It's pure politics. What does this then mean for interest rates and then the effect on everyday consumers? If Fed Chair Powell continues to assert the Fed's independence, I think the expectation of the Fed is that they will keep interest rates at where they are right now. But if Trump were to get his way, interest rates would get cut. What are the pros and cons of each of these positions?
So I think you have to look at this in a broader context rather than narrow in terms of what the next interest rate will be in 2 or 3 months. We have independent monetary policy. That is, the Federal Reserve sets interest rates according to their best judgment, with long terms and an independent mindset for the good of the long run economy. We have that because politically set interest rates will be set for the good of the incumbent political party with an eye towards the next election. And business cycles do not match up with the election calendar. Maximizing your party's chances of having a good economy to run on come November of odd, even years is not the way to run America's central bank and our interest rate policy, which needs to be tied to the business cycle. If you do it that way, if you have political interest rates, you're going to have higher inflation and lower economic growth in the long run. Reasonable people can disagree about what the right interest rate is today. The last time the Federal Reserve Open Markets Committee met, which is 12 people, the 7 governors and 5 bank presidents, they cut rates by 25 basis points. Some people wanted rates cut even lower. Others wanted them to remain where they were and thought it was a mistake to cut. Reasonable people can disagree on what interest rates are set today. But there's a difference between having a committee of independent people using their best judgment make these choices and Donald Trump doing it on a whim. And that's what this debate is all about.